Alright, so this is amalgam restoration for tooth number 14MO. The first thing that we're going to do is go ahead and put our matrix band around our topher. And so go ahead and loop the band in. Go ahead and tighten. Okay. Nice and tight. Make sure that it's nice and secure. Something that I do is I take a cotton plier and I will actually burnish the band. And what this does is it actually warps the band so that it actually conforms nicer to the tooth that you're working on. And so I'll go ahead and place this over, and I'll go ahead and tighten. Now, when you're putting on your band, you want to make sure that this is nice and tight. It's not tightening for some reason. Okay, so let's start that over, or we'll continue filming. So the band isn't tight. Let me go ahead and just reset this here.
We can cut that off too.
Yeah, that's fine. Let me go ahead and reset this here. Okay, good. So it's nice and tight. Go ahead and secure it over the tooth that you're working on. Okay, that's pretty good right there. Now, it's important for you to make sure that the marginal ridge, okay, you'll notice that the band is about 1 millimeter higher than where the marginal ridge is going to be. Because a lot of times if you press down on the band too much and it's at the level of your marginal ridge, you won't be able to overfill amalgam, and that's when you're going to have a difficult time trying to carve the actual marginal ridge. So make sure that you can see a little bit of cuffing of the matrix band around your tooth preparation. And then the next thing you'll do is go ahead and secure your band by placing a wedge. And you can do this either buccal or lingual, it really doesn't matter. And go ahead and make sure that you secure that in its place. Okay. So the next thing that you can do is go ahead and take your round ball burnisher and go ahead and burnish the contact. And this will allow you to create a much broader contact rather than a pinpoint proximal contact. Go ahead and do that as well. Okay, and so now we'll go ahead and mix the amalgam and start condensing the amalgam into the tooth preparation. Okay. Alright, so we have the amalgam. We'll go ahead and place it inside, but before I do that, just wanted to go over some technique on picking up amalgam. I see a lot of students in the sim lab making this motion, and I think that's an incorrect way of picking up amalgam. The actual correct method is actually tilting your amalgam carrier and picking up the amalgam as you're coming up from the carrying vessel. So here, we'll go ahead and place the amalgam here. And you notice that you want to angulate your amalgam, and you want to pick it up sort of like this so that the amalgam is retained in the carrier. So here we have the amalgam. Then we'll go ahead and place this into the proximal box first. And you notice that if you look at the carrier itself, it looks like a large condenser. So you can also use this to do a little bit of your condensing as well. So go ahead and make sure that that's in there. And then I'll switch over to the smaller condenser. Okay, the smaller condenser. Go ahead and start condensing. And this is when you can start moving the amalgam laterally or condense laterally so that you get a nice broad contact. So I'm really doing two things here. I'm pressing down apically, and I'm also moving the condenser laterally so that I establish a nice positive contact. So here I'm going and filling in the remaining. And remember, with amalgam, it's very important that you try to overfill the amalgam as much as you can. And it's okay to have extra flowing beyond your tooth preparation outline. So I'll pick up a little bit more amalgam, and again we'll kind of angulate it here. Okay, go ahead and fill it. And probably this time I'll go ahead and switch to the larger end. Very good. And just a little bit more amalgam.
The sound of fresh amalgam.
Okay. So now you can see that the amalgam is now overfilled. You notice that it's actually filled to the top of the band. So this is where I'll use my egg burnisher, and I'll start to condense and just get rid of a lot of the extra amalgam. And this is a nice instrument to get rid of a lot of the extra amalgam there. And it looks like a part of it kind of broke off, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and just condense that back. And we're still within the working time of amalgam, so at this point if part of your amalgam splits, it's always nice to go back and condense it a little bit more so that you get a nice condensed mix. And it's not too late to make any repairs at this point. We'll go ahead and do that. So you can kind of hear that nice scratchy sort of a metallic sound. So at this point, what I like to do, and I know that a lot of students are having trouble with forming their marginal ridge. And one thing that I like to do is I like to use an explorer, and what I like to do with the explorer is go ahead and lean it against the tooth preparation, and the tip of the explorer must contact the matrix band. And you'll notice that I use the explorer to actually create the occlusal embrasure. And very carefully, I'm using the explorer to sort of carve out and form that occlusal embrasure. So you'll notice that here, I have a nice rounded separation of amalgam from the band. And I've also sort of created this nice occlusal embrasure right in this area there. So the next thing that I do is I'll go ahead and grab my Hollenbeck instrument, and at this time, because I know that the amalgam is still very soft, I'm not going to do a very aggressive movement in trying to carve my dental anatomy. The only thing that I'm really concerned about right now is trying to get rid of any excess flash that sort of formed beyond the outline form. And one thing to keep in mind here is that you don't want to you want to create a central groove, but once you've established your central groove, try not to traverse that. And the reason why you don't want to do that is because you want to try to maintain that nice V shape as much as possible. If you do end up traversing the central groove, what ends up happening is that your V shape turns into more like a U shape. And so in order to maintain that nice sharp V shape, try not to traverse the central groove as much as possible. So here I'll go ahead and just very carefully establish my initial central groove. And so this is the buccal half. And you can see that the amalgam is still very soft, so I'm just going to be very gentle with this. And here's my central groove there. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that when you're working with amalgam and you're trying to establish your marginal ridge, it's not that I'm creating the marginal ridge, but the marginal ridge is formed when I create my mesial fossa. And really what you're doing is actually creating an illusion. So if I create a depression adjacent to my marginal ridge, it will actually enhance the appearance of the marginal ridge. So here I'll go ahead and remove the flash from the lingual half of the tooth preparation. And you notice that the Hollenbeck is a nice instrument. Go ahead and just shape that central groove. Okay. Alright. We have a nice V-shaped anatomy here. And let's see if we can try to remove this amalgam shavings.
Yeah. Dang it. Oh, give me that. You're good. Ah, crap. Thanks, too short. You can. Oh, I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that.
Alright, so here I am continuing to use the Hollenbeck instrument. And again, the idea of creating a marginal ridge isn't actually creating a marginal ridge, but it's actually creating the mesial fossa, and that's what's going to help develop a nice marginal ridge. So I'm going to create a little depression right in this area here using the Hollenbeck instrument. And the amalgam is beginning to set, so I can be a little bit more aggressive when it comes to carving. So there is my buccal half, and here is my lingual half. Okay. Okay.
You can have this, dude.
That's not working.
There you go, Dr. Ywom.
Oh, that looks good. Okay, good. Alright, so again, here is Explorer to create the occlusal embrasure. And we're working with the Hollenbeck. And you notice I have a nice mesial fossa. And here's my central groove. And I'll move my instrument over to the lingual half. And you notice I'm not traversing the central groove at all. Trying to preserve that nice fossa there. Okay. And just by listening to the amalgam, you notice that it's almost hardened. Okay. Yeah, there. Good. Now, when you're ready to remove the band, go ahead and loosen it first, and then separate the Toffelmeyer completely. And so your band will separate. And go ahead and grab the band and remove the distal part first, like so. And then go ahead and remove your wedge. And then go ahead and remove the band by moving in a buccal lingual direction. And there's your nice open contact.
Oh, nice.
So at this point, you can go ahead and start using your Hollenbeck instrument to remove any flash of amalgam in your proximal box. You can also use a cotton roll. Do you have a cotton roll? Yeah, a cotton roll works really well to remove any amalgam shavings that may have sort of lingered around. Does it look okay?
Yeah, looks good.
And so and just floss. Yeah, so at this point I won't do too much. I'll maybe just enhance the mesial fossa a little bit. When you start carving amalgam beyond its setting time, you notice that it starts to create these metallic scratch marks, and that's something that you don't want to do. You want to make sure that you understand the timing and the setting time of the amalgam that you're using, and use that to your advantage so that you don't overcarve or inadvertently put too much or too little anatomy. The ultimate test is go ahead and use a little floss. There you go. And you have a nice broad contact. This is how you check contacts. You have a nice broad contact there. Okay, and you can maybe pass floss a couple times. There you go. Okay. And I think there's your finished product.